Hello and welcome dear students. Today I am here with the second part of the chapter The Cop and the Anthem written by O. Henry. In the first part we have studied that Soapy was a homeless and jobless man and he was searching for a better place to stay in the winter, and he decided to go to Blackwell's Island. So now he was only thinking about the ways that how could he enter in that island and to be prisoned there. So let's start. There were many easy ways of doing this. The most pleasant way was to go and have a good dinner at some fine restaurant. Then he would say that he had no money to pay, and then a cop would be called. It would all be done very quietly. The cop would arrest him, he would be taken to a judge, and the judge would do the rest. So now Soapy was making plans for being arrested, and the easiest plan was that to have a good dinner in a fine restaurant and giving no money to pay for that. Then surely the police will arrest him and his purpose would be solved. So Soapy left his seat and walked slowly out of Madison Square of the place where the great street called Broadway and Fifth Avenue meet. He went across this wide space and started north on Broadway. He stopped at a large and brightly lighted restaurant. This was where the best food and the best people in the best clothes appeared every evening. So Soapy moved for making his plan successful. He walked slowly from Madison Square to Broadway and Fifth Avenue meet, then moved to the northern side of Broadway. There he noticed a big and nicely decorated restaurant. This was one of the best restaurants of the city, where only rich and sophisticated people visited in the evening. Soapy believed that above his legs he looked all right. His face was clean, his coat was good enough. If he could get a table, he believed that success would be his. The part of him was that would be seen above the table would look all right. The waiter would bring him that he asked for. So here in this picture that Soapy is standing outside the restaurant. So Soapy noticed himself and felt that above his legs he was looking all right, as his face was not dirty, it was clean and he was looking good, and he was also wearing a coat. So if he would enter and sit on the table, no one could object to serve him. He was feeling very happy by thinking all that he would be served better by the waiter too. So he began thinking of what he would like to eat. In his mind he could see the whole dinner. The cost would not be too high. He didn't want the restaurant people to feel any real anger, but the dinner would leave him filled and happy for the journey to his winter home. So now Soapy already decided that what to order. He didn't want to trouble any restaurant staff. He wouldn't rake up too high of a bill, just enough to fill himself and get arrested, because he wanted to go to Blackwell's Island and he wanted to be prisoned there. But as Soapy put his foot inside the restaurant door, the head waiter saw his broken old shoes and the torn clothes and covered his legs. Strong and ready hands turned Soapy around and moved him quietly and quickly outside again. So here you can see that the head waiter is just arguing Soapy to move outside of the restaurant, and he didn't allow him to just enter in the restaurant. So let's start. But unfortunately, as Soapy was going to enter in the restaurant, the head waiter stopped him with his torn clothes and messed up shoes. He was immediately escorted out from that restaurant by the head waiter. Soapy turned off Broadway. It seemed that this most easy way to the island was not be to his. He must think of some other way of getting there. So now Soapy started working on his plan B. He moved away from there. He understood that he had to face obstacles to reach that island. So at a corner of 6th Avenue was a shop with a wide glass window, bright with electric lights. Soapy picked up a big stone and threw it through the glass. People came running around the corner. A cop was first among them. Soapy stood still and smiled when he saw the cop. So when Soapy was going through the 6th Avenue street, he noticed a big shop with big glass window. He He took a heavy stone and threw it towards the glass, and it broke into pieces. All the people collected there while listening the breaking sound. A policeman was also there who asked about the person who had done all this. Soapy stood silently and passed a smile to the policeman. Here you can say that Soapy is smiling to the policeman, and policeman is angry because the glass had been broken. "Where's the man that did that?" asked the cop. "Don't you think that I might have done it?" said Soapy. He was friendly and happy. What he wanted was coming towards him. But the cop's mind would not consider Soapy. Men who break windows don't stop there to talk to cops. They run away as fast as they can. The cop saw a man farther along the street running. He ran after him, and Soapy, sick at heart, walked slowly away. He had failed 2 times. So Soapy himself went and told him that he had broken the glass. But the policeman thought that Soapy was lying, because wrongdoers didn't just stand and wait for the policeman after committing anything wrong. He noticed someone else was running. The policeman thought that he was the real culprit, so he chased him. Now Soapy was feeling very disappointed because his 2 plans were already failed. Across the street was another restaurant. It was not so fine as the one on Broadway. The people who went there were not so rich. Its food was not so good. Into this, Soapy took his old shoes and his torn clothes, and no one stopped him. He sat down at a table and was soon eating a big dinner. So again he started working on his next plan. So he noticed a restaurant there, though it was cheaper than the previous one, and food was also not so good. Here he could enter in his torn clothes and shoes. So he entered in the restaurant and sat on the table. He ordered for the dinner that was served to him. After having his dinner, then when he had finished, he said that he had no money. "Get busy and call a cop," said Soapy, "and don't keep a gentleman waiting." "No cop for you," said the waiter. He called another waiter. The 2 waiters threw Soapy upon his left ear on the hard street outside. So now what happened? After entering in the restaurant, he just ordered for the dinner, and the dinner was also served for him. After finishing his dinner, he said that he had no money to pay. If they wanted, they can call a police. But the waiter said no cop should be disturbed for him. Then he called another waiter for help, and they both picked him up and physically tossed him out in the back street. He stood up slowly, one part at a time, and beat the dust from his clothes. Prison seemed only a happy dream. The island seemed very far away. So Soapy stood up and removed dust from his clothes. He was afraid that his plan to visit the island was just looking like a happy dream for him. So though he was feeling disappointed, but he didn't want to give up. A cop was standing near, laughed and walked away. Soapy started moving again. When he stopped, he was near several theatres. In this part of the city, streets were brighter and hearts are more joyful than in other parts. Women and men in rich warm coats moved happily in the winter. A sudden fear caught Soapy. No cop was going to arrest him? So when Soapy was on the street, the policeman was also standing there. He laughed at his condition and moved away. Soapy also walked ahead. Now he reached the place where many theatres were made. People came there to enjoy and make themselves happy. Many people were walking in their woolens in the cold winter. Soapy was restless and thinking no policeman was going to arrest him. He was worried that how will he survive without any shelter in this cold winter. After this, what would happen? How did Soapy survive in the winter? We will continue in the next part. Till then, continue your learning by doing and take care of yourself. Thank you, children.